I'm pretty sure that every last one of us has been guilty somewhere, somehow, some way of speaking before we think. So I want to talk about that today, speaking. And so there are some Bible verses about that, speaking, thinking before you speak. Think before you speak. Think before you speak, okay? And that these lessons, these topics always help me too. They always help me. So I'm not just putting them out there for all of the audience. I am using this information too. It is helpful to me, all right? Think before you speak. How to think before you speak. And this is how to think before you speak. 6 steps. And this is a conscious rethink. This is the site that I'm on, a conscious rethink. And this is the first time I've been on this one, but it looks like it's really good. How to think before you speak. 6 steps you must take. And this is Samuel Rodenheiser. Samuel Rodenheiser wrote this, talking about think before you speak. Have you ever said something you later regretted? Oh, yes, I have. How about you? Have you ever said something that you later regretted? And in this day and time and my maturity, where I am today, I will not say something if I'm not sure of it, rather than to say it and it's not the right time, right place to say it. So sometimes I will be quiet, all right? I will be quiet. So, of course you have. So have you ever said something that you regretted saying? Of course you have. Of course I have. Everybody has, and that's a fact. Everybody has. Have you ever had words spoken to you that you wished had not been said? And I mentioned a little bit about that on Sunday morning. Have you ever had words spoken to you that you wished had not been said? Of course you have. Everybody has had the experience. I mean, every last one of us. And if you haven't yet, just keep on living, okay? It's coming to you. We have no control over what others say to us. We definitely do not have any control over what others say to us. Even sometimes we hear somebody start to say something and then we try to stop them, and before we can stop them, it's out and gone, okay? It is out there and it is gone. And it is piercing if it's a piercer, okay? But we have plenty of control over what we say to them. That's it. We don't have any control over what people say to us, but we have control over what we say to other people, right? So, our words can build up or tear down. They can. Our speech can encourage or deflate. What we say can heal or harm, and I talk about that quite often. What we say can heal or harm. It can inflate, it can deflate. Words are very powerful, all right? So so our words, I want to do this one again. Our words can build up or tear down. Our speech can encourage or deflate. What we say can heal or harm. Is there some means by which we won't end up regretting the words we speak? Some way we can improve what we say. Is there a way we can improve what we say? Is there some way we can end up not regretting what we said? So fortunately, according to Samuel, on Conscious Rethink, this is the site, he said, fortunately, our speech can improve significantly by following one simple rule. Think before you speak. And I know probably all of us have been told that. Think before you speak. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. So which is easy to say, but how do we go about this in a practical way? It's easy to say it, okay, but how do we go about it in a practical way. So if the goal is to think before you speak, then the writer said, I'd like to offer an acronym that should help you do just that. And he goes on to say, in fact, it's very close to the word think. It's the word thanks. THANKS. And that's the acronym, all capitals, THANKS. Thanks. So he's going to give us this acronym on how we can think, to think before we speak. And that sounds really, really good. He says, so we would all give thanks if words spoken to us were friendly and kind. Likewise, others will give thanks if our words are positive and beneficial. So let's take a look at the acronym, THANKS, thanks, and see how it can help us avoid saying something we will one day rue, R-U-E. Minimalism made simple. Think before you speak. 10 reasons why it's important. Think before you speak. And I wanted to get into that thanks, and if I can get back into it, I will. But some kind of bug was trying to get into my computer, so I had to get away from that. All right. Now, if you're someone, and this is Minimalism Made Simple, and we've been to this site before. If you're someone who is naturally honest, the saying, think before you speak, may not be easy for you. For brutally honest individuals, you say whatever is on your mind without taking into consideration how that could impact those around you. And some people are like that, and brutally honest, but see, they have to learn just like the rest of us. You know, they can use that excuse, well, you know how I am. I'm just honest with people. Still, you have to obey the rules like the rest of us, okay? Be kind and considerate to people, too. Consider others while you're doing what you're doing. So we have to remember that, too. So there is no excuse after you've been made aware of it. Okay, so think before you speak. Here are 10 reasons why it's important. And I'm trying to see who wrote this, but we know where the site is, okay? minimalismmadesimple.com. If you're someone who is naturally honest, and I know I'm redoing this, the saying, think before you speak, may not be easy for you. For brutally honest people, you say whatever's on your mind without taking into consideration how it could impact those around you. So while this may seem okay to you, it's possible to push people away with this attitude, and it certainly is, because I'm one of them. I will get away. I will excuse myself somehow, some way. So you should always think before you speak, to avoid hurting others, especially the people you love. Otherwise, you may potentially lose them. So in this article right here that I'm on, we'll be talking about the 10 reasons why it's important to think before you speak. The 10 reasons. So what it means to think before you speak. When you think before you speak, you carefully examine the words you choose to say until you're sure that it won't hurt someone. Okay? So, let me do this right here. All right. Words are the most powerful bullets you can use to hurt or destroy someone. The worst part is they're just verbal. And I mentioned Sunday, and I'm not saying this is what I want, but have you, and I'm going to ask the question and just giving a statement of what I sometimes would think. if you had just popped me and gotten it over with, instead of saying those hurtful things, that might have been better, because it would have been over with. Now, the popping me, that part wouldn't have, but I wouldn't have those words to think about. But I'm not saying I want somebody to pop me, because hey, that's not what I'm saying. But some things can hurt so. They can hurt to the core. And those things you never, ever forget. Sometimes you might not think of them, but they will come back at some time or another. But when they come back, let's take those and turn it into something positive, as a positive lesson on teaching us and letting us know how, when, what, when not, what not to say. All right? To hurt people, because from the experience that we have, we should know. We should know. So words are the most powerful bullets you can use to hurt or destroy someone. The worst part is they're just verbal. Words can destroy someone's confidence and self-worth in one fraction of a moment if you don't think before you speak. In one fraction of a moment, and that is so true. So it's not an excuse that it's in your nature to do so, especially when you may hurt those around you. So, well, that's just how I am. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. Words are powerful, but also fragile. So you must say things that you know won't negatively impact the people around you. This is good. So to think before you speak may take energy and effort, especially if your candor is natural to you. Okay? So however, just think of how you can ruin someone's day by saying the wrong thing. By thinking before speaking, you can save all the trouble and avoid hurting someone. So how to think before you speak? If you want to think before you speak, you need to be aware of what you're doing. It's important to ask questions such as if you may hurt them, or if you're being too insensitive to the matter. Now, it's important to ask questions such as if you may hurt them, or if you're being too insensitive to the matter. So you have to ask yourself these important questions, and really we need to do it before we say these words, okay? Before being aware of your tendency to speak without thinking is the first step to changing your behavior and to be more sensitive to those around you. You should also take note that not every thought that crosses your mind should be said out loud, or there are things that should be kept private. Okay? There's some things that should not be said out loud, as well as there are things that should be kept private. So for instance, if you're judging someone secretly in your mind, you shouldn't speak your mind out loud, as this comes off as apathetic, rude, and mean. All right? So speaking without thinking initially will make a lot of people distance themselves from you, as that's not an attractive quality on someone. And have you distanced yourself from someone because of something that they have done? I have. Oh, yes, I have. My God. 10 reasons why thinking before you speak is important. Number 1, your words show who you are. Your words show who you are. And I'm pointing back at myself too. So when I do that, I'm pointing at me and I'm pointing at the screen also. Your words show who you are. Think before you speak. Words aren't simply words. They reveal your true nature. Words can determine your character and personality, so it's important to always watch what you say. People judge you by what you say. You can be acting one way and saying something, but they're hearing what you're saying too, okay? You wouldn't want others to perceive you as harsh and cruel after all. You shouldn't want them to perceive you, but some people just don't care. Number 2, your words have power. Your words have power. Yes, they do. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with me. Thank you so much. Your words have power. And I am in minimalistmindsimple.com. Your words have power. Everybody's words have some kind of power. Even children's words have power, okay? Words are more powerful than you think. One negatively or wrongly worded phrase can destroy someone's self-esteem and the entire belief system of someone. It could just destroy them just like that. Just like that. By thinking first, you can spread kind words instead of just hate. You can do it. Yes, you can. Number 3, your words can be impulsive. The reason for saying unkind words can be out of anger or other emotions, so it's so important to think before you speak. Otherwise, you'll end up regretting the things you say, especially if they were said to hurt someone instead of to communicate with someone. The difference, if they were said to hate someone or instead of communicate with someone. And we know there's some mean people in this world, and they will say anything to hurt people and put them down. So number 4, you have might wrong assumptions. Okay. I had to see about that. When you think someone intentionally hurt you, it's a tendency to use words to hurt them back. However, they may not have had that intention, and by not thinking first, it's already too late. Already too late. People say things different from what they intended, so you need to avoid lashing out. Number 5, you might overreact. And I know they got the words mixed up on here on number 4. It's supposed to be you might have wrong assumptions, but here it has you have might wrong assumptions. But it's supposed to be you might have wrong assumptions. So you might assume that they meant it for harm and they did not. It just came out a different way. You might overreact. Always reflect. This is number 5. Always reflect on your words before saying them out loud, as you might be overreacting. So just like with having wrong assumptions, it's possible to overreact with the words you say. Before speaking things out loud, make sure you're thinking rationally and that it's not an emotional outburst. Oh, that takes a lot, doesn't it? But we can do it. We can do it. Yes, we can. Number 6, you might judge harshly. You might judge harshly. It's so easy. Yes, it is. It's so easy to judge people before you know the entire story, whether that's jumping to conclusions and being frustrated at them. You should think before speaking so you don't unnecessarily judge people. And I've jumped to conclusions before. I have. Yes, I have. Number 7, you can destroy a relationship. The words you say don't just destroy someone's confidence, but this goes for their significant relationships. If you are not careful with the words you release, it can negatively affect what they have with those they care about. And that's for real. So think before you speak as to not inflict unnecessary damage on someone else, especially those you love. Think before you speak so you won't inflict unnecessary damage onto someone, especially those you love. Number 8, you can affect their actions, and that's for real. Hello, thank you for being with me. Words can lead people to do all kinds of things, which is why you need to watch over your words carefully. For instance, you can mistakenly call a teenager fat, and she might carry this forever, or he, okay, leading to choices that affect their entire life. Be careful of the words you release to avoid harming someone else in the process. Number 9, you can't take it back. When it's out here, you can say, I'm sorry. You can say, I apologize. You can say, I didn't mean to do that. We can say all of those things. It doesn't amount to anything because it's in the atmosphere. It has been delivered. All right? So you can't take it back. Think before you speak. We must think rationally before we speak. No matter how much you wish you can take your words back or take back your words, that's just not possible. Once you say certain things, it can't be undone, no matter what. Cannot be undone. The pain that you inflict on others might be forgotten, so it's something you have to live with. Excuse me. Some people might forget, but the one you inflicted on, it cannot be forgotten. The pain you inflict on others can't be forgotten, so it's something you have to live with. So choose what you're going to say to avoid having to live with the guilt and shame of impacting someone else. Number 10, you can display ignorance. You can display ignorance. We're talking about 10 ways why you should, reasons you should think before you speak. Those who simply don't care about whether or not they hurt people display ignorance that is plain wrong. You should think before you speak to avoid having this bad image to others, and most importantly, to avoid hurting those who don't deserve to be hurt. And so many people have been hurt, they've been hindered, they have been affected in so many negative ways. They have been harmed, and some have never, ever gotten over it. Here are some final thoughts on this site, okay? Minimalism Made Simple is a site.com. Final thoughts. I hope this article was able to shed insight into why it's important to think before you speak. Words are so powerful, so you need to take into consideration the impact this will have on others. So you can never tell what someone is going through, so you should choose your words wisely by thinking initially. Otherwise, you might have to deal with feelings of guilt or shame. That's right. Hey, we can't escape it, because when we put it out there, it is out there. So be aware and beware of what you say and what you do towards other people. I found another article here, and it's in TED Talks, and I first heard of them. My daughter, she watches TED Talk. Yeah. Here's another one with the acronym, THINK acronym for kinder and more effective. Let me see what this is. Communications. Infographic. Before you speak. T, is it true? H, is it helpful? I, is it inspiring? N, is it necessary? K, is it kind? I like that. And this is the Coaching Tools Company.com. Think acronym for kinder and more effective communications. So, I like this. The Think acronym and infographic helps us communicate more kindly with others. Originally, the Think, T-H-I-N-K, all capitals, acronym was created to help reduce online bullying, and to be useful before posting something on social media. And so this is geared toward children. And I like this. I think I'm going to use this, since that other one zonked out on me. Used to discourage bullying online and on social media, but it's actually useful for all of our communications, for every one of us, from the young to the old. All right. So where could you communicate more kindly with the Think acronym? And I did that. T, think. That is the acronym. Is it true? Is this fact, or is it really an opinion or feeling? Know and be clear before you speak. That's T. H, is it helpful? Does it help you, them, or the situation? This is nice, isn't it? I, is it inspiring? Also, does it improve on the silence? Neat. N, is it necessary? Would this be better left unsaid? K, is it kind? What is your motivation for communicating? Because some people, they intend to hurt people, and then they will tell, the Bible says it's a lie. They'll lie and say, oh, I didn't mean to say that. That just slipped out. But it's out. It's out. So, do you think that the THINK acronym was created to help people to be kinder, or did you know, that was help people to be kinder on social media? So it applies also to everyday communications too. So whether we're talking to work colleagues, to friends, to family, to children, or to our partner, it is good for all of that. Other helpful questions: am I saying this from a place of anger? Am I being respectful? Here's another: who is my audience? Who else might be able to hear, see, or read this? And there can be some hurtful things. I've seen people cussing folk out on the internet. And then when I see that, I just go ahead. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Leon. Thank you for being with me. what I'm saying appear to others. And we've seen people just cussing, using all those words we call profanity on the line. And so what I do is at that time I just have to, you have controls on there. And I've heard people say, I don't like Facebook. It's just too much mess on there. But we have controls on Facebook where if you don't want to hear that or see that anymore, you can cut it out where it won't pop up anymore. You can block those people. We have ways of controlling that. And then if it gets to the point, like so many people are trying to take over people's sites and stuff, we can remedy that too. So there are controls, okay? So I like Facebook. I really do like Facebook. So how might what I'm saying appear to others? This is thinking before we speak. Could someone misinterpret what I'm saying? And yes, they can. So what am I saying about myself with these words? See, there's so much to think about. See, we can be aiming at someone else, mean and hateful words at someone else, but then these people are looking at us, and they're kind of figuring us out too. If we're saying all this mean stuff and doing these things to people, so it doesn't just affect those that people are aiming it at, but it affects you and your character too, whoever's giving it out. So we have to really, really think. You have to think. So the acronym gives the saying, think before you speak, meaning make THINK a practice in your life, and your communications will be both kinder and more effective. This is the coachingtoolscompany.com. So to deepen your learning, they say, ponder the questions below. So they've given us some questions. How could the THINK acronym help your clients if you're in business somehow, whatever? How could it help your clients? How could you use this acronym in workshops or groups? Where could THINK help you in your relationships, in work, at home, and socially? And so where could you post this THINK infographic to reduce online or other bullying? So who else could find this acronym helpful? And then they have a final thing here. Say, finally, you liked this THINK acronym infographic on kindness and communication. You may also like, and they have some other work here, Be Brave, Be Authentic, Be Fabulous by Ruby McGuire. They have Healthy Conflicts, What's Underneath the Anger Costume by Julia Menard. And they have 5 conflict tips and a powerful model to make your conflict conversations run more smoothly. And Emma Louise Elsie is a contributing author of this, and that's some great information. Ooh, I like that. Now, thinking before you speak. And so that other thing has me held hostage that I wanted to talk about. So I can't do that one because I'm not going to let it mess up my computer. Here's some scriptures, and then I'm going to sign off. Thank you again for being with me. Here's some scriptures about thinking before you speak. Bible verses about thinking before speaking, thinking before acting, thinking before we speak. 15 inspirations, Bible quotes, and scriptures. Bible verses about thinking before speaking, thinking before acting, and those that I just named. So with scriptures, we have scriptures about it. And so before you speak or act out in anger, stop and think. Is it possible you misunderstood or misjudged the situation? Sometimes we can be in a mood. Our emotions could be running, rampant. And it just depends on the environment we came out of before we went into another environment, depending on what was going on before, what we're thinking about at the time. So there are so many things that play into what we say, why we say it, and how we say it. So are we thinking before we speak? What is our attitude before we say it? And all that. Innocent people can get hurt by something that someone else did. And when we get to another place or around another person, then it all comes out on another person or other people because of something that had happened somewhere else. So this is very touchy, very touchy, very touchy. So before you speak or act out, we have to stop and we have to think. Is it possible that we misunderstood or misjudged the situations, even the ones we came out of and even the ones we're going into? Because we can be tense when we go into situations, and we've seen people that go somewhere, they come to an environment, and they just snap at somebody and say, oh, I apologize, I'm sorry I did that, I just had a terrible meeting, I just had a terrible encounter with someone. But it's not fair to put it on somebody else. That's why it's so important to think before we speak. James 1 verse 19, the New Living Testament. Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Then we have Proverbs, the 25th chapter in the MSG version. Don't jump to conclusions. There may be a perfectly good explanation for what you just saw. Sometimes we can see something and we can misinterpret what we saw. We really can. Proverbs 29 verse 20, New Living Testament. There is more hope for a fool than for someone who speaks without thinking. My goodness. So before you respond or speak to any situation, stop and think. What will your words and your actions accomplish? Will your words hurt or will they help? Will your actions build others up or null them down? Will your words encourage or discourage others? And I know you've seen people almost drain the life out of folk by something that they said to someone. Okay, Ephesians, the 4th chapter and 29th verse, New Living Testament version. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. Proverbs 13, 16a, New Living Testament. Wise people think before they act. And we can always go to the King James and look at that version also. Hebrews 10 verse 24. It's the New Living Testament version. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. Before you speak or act, stop and think. Are you rushing to say or do something you might deeply regret later? Sometimes we can say, I just can't wait to see him. I just can't wait to see her. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. We've all heard it, and we probably all said it. But listen, before you speak or act, stop and think. Are you rushing to say or do something you might deeply regret later? Are you focused on the good or the bad? Which one are you focused on? Oh, my. Goodness gracious, I like this. And I thank you. Like I say, you know I'm going to say thank you several times while you're on here. So I know you're used to it by now. All right. Now, Philippians, the 4th chapter and the 2nd part of the 8th verse, which is 8b. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. that is one. Think about these things. If there's something, an inkling of something good in there, in the midst of all of the confusion and all the bad, pull something good out of it. Think about it. Think on those things. So before you act is the next one. Stop and think. Is your speech seasoned with grace, love, and humility? These are so nice. Think before we speak. We'll be glad that we did. We can't do anything about the past, but moving forward, we can be better at what we do in life and how we handle life and the situations from this microsecond forward. Have you considered what this person might be going through privately? Painful things that may not be obvious to others. And that's why I have said, and I still say, be careful. When people have bad attitudes, of what we call them, and when they're upset about something and they might be saying something wrong or whatever, but like we said in the beginning, we can't do anything about what people do, what they say. We can't control that, but we can control what we do and say, okay? So we don't know what people have to come out of. That's why I tell people, when I'm speaking out, and even here on the webcast on Greater Gospel Temple and Inspiration of God Ministries on here on Point of View, be very delicate with people, because when people come out, they come out because they want to support whatever's going on, but we don't know what they had to endure to get out to that, wherever, and then what they'll have to face when they go back home. We just don't know. So that's why we are taught through the Word of God and just through regular human principles and life lessons to be kind to other people no matter what. Because we don't know what people are facing. And like I said, painful things that may be obvious to others. Have you considered what this person might be going through privately? Painful things that may not be obvious to others. Some people have some awful, awful situations at home. We just don't know the half of it. And to get out and to support and to come out and be a part of something because they want to support it in spite of what they had to go through to get out and what they'll have to go through to get back in. We have to be very careful. Colossians, the 4th chapter and the 6th verse, let your speech always be with grace, as though seasoned with salt, so that you will know how you should respond to each person. Let your words be seasoned with grace. Be gentle with people. And if we think before we speak, even if they cut us to the core with their words, we will be given by the Spirit of God how to say it. He will season our words so that they won't stir up anger and confusion more than what it is. A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. So let our speech always be seasoned with grace. My goodness, as though seasoned with salt, so that you will know how you should respond to each person. Colossians 3 and 12b. Put on a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. See, we're responsible for how we act and react toward people. We are responsible for us, what we do and say. So let's do and say to the best of our ability the right thing at all times. Put on a heart of compassion, of kindness, of humility, gentleness, and patience. Then we go to Colossians, the 3rd chapter and the 14th verse. We're talking about think before we speak. I've done the practical, now I'm doing the spiritual, okay? Colossians 3:14. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. That's all it is. If we love each other, we don't want to hurt each other. We don't want to hurt each other, belittle each other, destroy each other's confidence, and some people destroy other people's lives. When people destroy people's confidence, sometimes that's the end of those people's lives, and I mean really the end of it, because some people have been so hurt, so distraught by something that has been done to them or hasn't been done that should have been done to help them out, till they end their lives. It's hard, but it's right and it's truthful. Before you speak, act or react in jealousy and envy. Before you speak, before you act or react in jealousy and envy, stop and think. Hi, David. Thank you for being with me. Stop and think about all what God has blessed you with. Are you taking the time to enjoy what you have? If you just stop and think before you speak. Ecclesiastes tells us in the New Living Testament, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't. And jealousy can bring about a lot of these angry words and things, because somebody wants something that someone else has and they feel like they can't get it, so they try to make the other person feel bad because they have it, or they might not even mention what they have, but just because they can't have or don't have what the other person has, they want to be mean to them, and that's the only way they know how to act toward the person. But let me tell you this, we can have what we desire if we go about it the right way. We don't have to have somebody else's. That makes no sense at all. We can have our own. All right? Stop and think before you speak. Are you making every effort to live in peace? Are you treating others the way you would like to be treated? In Romans, the 14th chapter, the 19th verse, we're talking about think before you speak. And this all plays into it, okay? Let us therefore make every effort to do what leads to peace and to mutual edification. Now, if we're going to go ahead and jump on somebody with words and try to hurt them because they hurt us, that's not promoting peace. That's not promoting love and humility. Yes, people say things to us that hurt us, and we have reacted just like they acted toward us. But now that we know better, we know what to do, how to do, when to do, then we do better, okay? We do better. We are all learning. We're all still learning. We have learned, but we're still learning. And we have to be able to communicate with people, communicate with them in love. Matters not how they treat us. Yes, it hurts, but we need to be focused. And we practice on this. Focus to whenever these things happen, we can respond in the right way. Hi, Richard. Thank you for being with me. Ephesians 4, verse 2, New Living Testament, tells us always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. But let me tell you, we all know that each of us has some faults, okay? We have faults. We had different types of faults in the past. Some of those are gone away, but yet we are human beings. Okay, so are we making every effort to live in peace? Are you treating others the way you would like to be treated? Are we? Are we thinking before we speak? Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other's, and making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Then that's Matthew, the 7th chapter, and the 12th verse. In everything, therefore, treat people the same way you want them to treat you. And you can go to this site. It's jollynotes.com. And we've talked about the ways of thinking before you speak. And so I wanted to come in and bring the scripture in that proves, hey, if we practice it, we can do it, okay? Stop and think before you speak. Is it wise to speak right now, or is it wiser to be quiet? I try to keep my mouth shut when I'm not sure of what I should say. And I could know what I should say, but how should I say it? And when should I say it? Is this the right time? Is it the right place? Should I wait? So, stop and think before you speak. Is it wise to speak right now, or is it wiser to be quiet? Proverbs, the 17th chapter, the 27th through the 28th verses. It tells us, whoever restrains his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. And that is so true. Let me tell you, I know we've had these experiences. How many minutes? I have 3 minutes. We've had these experiences. I know when I was working at one of the companies I was working at, and so there was a man that he would have his pipe. He couldn't smoke inside, but he'd have his pipe in his mouth, and he looked so kind of dignified. And he'd have his newspaper, and he'd be sitting there at the break table. He would be, I guess he'd be reading it. He'd have it open. But then, when he opened his mouth and started talking, it seemed like a totally different person, okay? So, is it wise to speak right now? Is it wiser to wait? So think before you speak. Think before you speak. Think before you respond or react. Proverbs 17, 27 through 28. And I know I just did that. And I had to speak on that because when he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent as long as he was quiet. Hey. But when he opened his mouth, it was a totally different story. All right. Think before you act. Think before you speak. Think before you respond or react. And remember, always ask God for help. God is eager to help you to speak wisely. And I know that to be a fact. And oh wow, that worked out really well, didn't it? Thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I appreciate each of you for tuning in. And on Thursday, Cleester said that she will be with me on Tuesday, God willing. As far as she knows, she'll be with me. And like I said the other day, Merethah is trying to work it where she can kind of get her schedule where she can come in on her lunch break. And then Eula, of course, she's out there. They changed and gave her more hours with the children. So she's doing some things that keep her from coming on. But God willing, I will be here. This is Point of View with Shirley, Cleester, Merethah, and Eula right here on the World Wide Web. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Think before you speak. That goes for me first and anyone else, because we have said some things that we truly have regretted. But we cannot dwell on the things in the past. We have to move forward and do the best that we can, depending on God to take up the slack for us, okay? So think before you speak. Do unto others as you would them do unto you. And know about that tongue. That tongue no man can tame is full of deadly poison. Think before you speak. So if we think before we speak, then that tongue won't be able to spit it out. Okay? I love you. Enjoy your day. Please let me hear from you. Thank you so much for being with me.